Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, good morning, everyone. How's everybody on day 2? Can I put this over here? Thank you. Great, good. Well, thank you for having me. This is my first time in Austria, and it's been wonderful so far. Thank you to 15 Seconds for making this possible and including me in this spectacular festival. So for the next 20 minutes, I'd like to get your attention to talk about how to get a man's attention. And I will not leave too much to the imagination, but dive right in. So what we're going to talk about in the next 20 minutes is, first and foremost, why men matter to those that have always or primarily targeted men who consider them their core consumer, but also those who secondarily target men. How to capture their attention, which we'll share a custom ethnography study we conducted this past year. Our point of view is a brand that's been targeting men for nearly 60 years. And proven ROI tactics. I'll share 3 examples of brands that we've worked with to achieve goals targeted to men. So men are having a moment, and now is the time to target them. The Business of Fashion said, men are becoming more interested in investing in themselves, whether it's a new piece of technology, an item of clothing, or a grooming product. Forbes reports that Gen Y and millennial men are more interested in fashion, grooming, and things that are a key part of the retail sector. That's why you see a lot of retailers who historically have been focused on women extending their brands to appeal to men. And lastly, recently the Huffington Post declared the future of fashion is menswear. And all of this industry buzz is rooted in hard data. Recent study by the Budget Sense app, which is a financial planning app, they conducted a study of 1,000 American men and women and found that men are spending more time shopping in store per week than women, 3 hours versus 2.5. Men are twice as likely to be shopping online, and 6 in 10 men have made a mobile purchase versus only 45% of women. The result is that menswear sales have increased by 13% year over year, outpacing women's wear, and it's now a global market of $450 billion and growing. So what are brands doing? Who's really adjusting to this? UGG, Michael Kors, and Coach are 3 really interesting examples. UGG is expected to increase their menswear penetration twofold, so from 10% to 20% in the next 5 years. Michael Kors is tripling their concentration on men, and Coach did an interesting experiment in the US this past year where they moved menswear accessories and clothing to point of entry and storefront windows, and they saw increases in sales, overall sales, not just men's sales, men's and women's sales, as a result of making men's a priority. And it's not just fashion specific, it's also very much grooming specific. I noticed there was a barber shop set up here tonight or today, and that's because men's grooming has gone mainstream. Whether it's baby boomers hoping to overcome signs of aging or millennials who grew up spritzing Axe body spray, there's a wider spectrum of men buying grooming products than ever before. That's from the Wall Street Journal. The grooming market is a $4.6 billion market, currently up from $4.1 billion just in the past 2 years. And growing at 6%, it's the fastest segment in the beauty industry. So how can you as marketers and brands capture male attention, cultivate their buying power, and capitalize on this moment? I'm here to tell you how. First, we have to think about what men are being faced with every single day. Now more than ever, marketers must cut through the clutter. 140,000 new websites are launched every single day. When men go to Google to seek style, advice, tips, and information, they are faced with 114 million results for men's style. 6,000 tweets are happening every second, and in a digital age, 800 new magazines were launched last year alone. So the man, information is infinite to him, but how can you get his attention when he's being faced with so much? We embarked on our latest research endeavor to find out. We went with the objective to find out what captures male attention and ultimately leads him to purchase across categories. What our methodology looked like, we designed an extensive ethnographic piece where we went into the homes of 12 gentlemen, 6 in New York and 6 in LA. We sat at their coffee tables, we sat on their sofas in their kitchen, and had organic conversations with them. We went through their closets and into their medicine cabinets and really learned in a very natural setting what was impacting and affecting them. We partnered with research firm Bovitz, which is headquarters in Los Angeles. They're a storytelling research firm known for working with Nike and Amazon, Google, and some of the world's most renowned brands. And it's important to note that we conducted these interviews with 12 gentlemen who we strategically chose based on their diverse backgrounds. They were from all over the country, all over the world, skewing millennial, but a broad spectrum of their interests in men's style, fashion, and grooming. From that, we gleaned 4 macro trends that are ultimately affecting male attention and leading today's man to purchase. The first, today's man is driven by the desire to be cool. I will repeat that because that word was overwhelmingly used in our interviews. Cool. Every single guy we spoke with aspired to achieve a level of cool. And while that was subjective, it meant something different to each person. It was a word that we heard over and over again. And it was across categories. Guys that were trying to learn how to dress well or groom or get a good beard shave, how to order a bottle of wine on a first date, where to travel, the type of car to drive, a broad spectrum. Michael was a biochemist that lived on the Upper East Side in New York City. He said, it's important to stay up to date because otherwise you will fall behind. And he took a deep breath and said, there's this fear of falling behind and entering a conversation and not knowing what's going on. Guys want to be ahead of the trends, ahead of the information. They want to be a leader amongst their peers and not be left behind on what people are talking about and what's cool. The second, a result of their desire to achieve this, is content consumption is at an all-time high. Men are more engaged in the shopping and research process than ever. Because of that, men are open-minded and receptive to marketers in a very pronounced way. So Henry was this distinguished gentleman from the UK who lived in Brooklyn. He said when he's going through the process of purchasing shoes, he first decides on a style. Is it a brogue or is it a loafer? What sort of shoe is it? Then he goes on Google. Then he goes on Pinterest. Then he talks to some friends. So he's gone through all of these steps before he's made a decision. And what I think is especially interesting to note, in addition to the fact of how much time is being spent in the purchase funnel, Pinterest. A lot of people question, are men really on Pinterest? Is that a male-skewed platform? The Wall Street Journal reports that some of the changes in men's shopping habits reflect a shift in their conception of style. Men are increasingly up to speed on the latest trends and designers, taking cues from style blogs, social media, and Pinterest, where men are a fast-growing group. And we also know from GQ specifically, we have over 500,000 followers on Pinterest. We have the highest Pinterest following at Condé Nast, more than Vogue, Architectural Digest, Condé Nast Traveler. So it is absolutely a place you need to be if you're targeting men. The next, we've talked about content consumption at a heightened amount, but content is most impactful when it tells a story. So while men are being somewhat overwhelmed and bombarded with information, it's brands who are telling unique stories that are really standing out to them. Evan from Los Angeles said, there's something about understanding the vision of a brand or feeling like you're a part of something cool where it's not just a name but a story behind the name. And he gave the example of Tom's. And we know from our research, brands that really invite consumers, behind the curtain and deeper into their brand are really what's standing out and succeeding. And lastly, the fourth trend is that confidence equals conversion. The male purchase funnel looks a little different than purchase funnels we've previously examined. Confidence sits at the very bottom. Men must feel confident in the brands and products they're purchasing and themselves before they transact. Warren said, when I feel really good about a brand or product, it gives me the confidence I need to make the purchase. The more confident in what I'm buying, the more confident I am in myself. And also, quantitatively, we conducted research that found that 81% of men said a desire to look good for themselves, above all, was the #1 reason they were buying new men's style items above necessity, above looking good or feeling good for somebody else. It was all about them walking out the door, looking good, and feeling confident. So if you need to remember from those 4 trends, what you need to remember is that there is actually 4 C's to consider when you're attracting men. Cool. Think of things through the lens of cool. Content. Tailor your content and customize it and tell a story about who you are. Confidence. Instill confidence in him and he will transact. The end result, sales conversion. So how have we leveraged these insights and how do they manifest themselves in the GQ ecosystem? In today's attention economy, where humans are said to have the attention span of goldfish, 8 seconds, GQ really breaks through, inspiring and informing men worldwide through the lens of cool, informative storytelling that instills confidence. And we're reaching men everywhere they are. A brand that has been around for 60 years as a magazine, we now reach 56 million men worldwide across every touch point. Our digital audience has actually surpassed our print audience. And in the social realm, we're reaching 25 million via social influencers. We have almost 3 million on Instagram. And one of our favorite things to talk about is the fact that GQ is an adjective. If you go on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and enter hashtag GQ, you'll see that it refreshes every 20 seconds. Guys are using it as an adjective to denote the fact that they've achieved a level of style, a level of confidence, a level of gentlemanly. And because of that, the world's most iconic brands trust us and work with us. Just to name a few, here's who we're working with day in and day out to achieve key objectives and things appealing to men. Apple, Armani, Christian Dior, Gucci, BMW, Mercedes, Rolex. But today specifically, I'm going to share 3 examples with you for Gap, Remy Martin, and Tiffany Company. The first is Gap. We all know Gap is a household name. It's a global brand that's been around since the beginning of time, and everybody has shopped there. But Gap is continuing to innovate and elevate themselves as a style authority, tapping into cool. So every year, Gap and GQ partner on a very special collaboration in which GQ editors identify the best new menswear designers in America. Those designers are then contracted to build out a special collection of clothing and accessories sold at Gap using their brand name specifically for men. The collection launches in October every year in Gap stores globally, hopefully here in Austria. And it sells out miraculously in the first 24 hours. Reports of the interest in the collection is overwhelming. And that's because we tell the story of the collection every year across multiple touch points and build momentum and buzz for it. There is a 6-page advertising unit that lives in our October issue in which we profile each of the designers, their story, where they come from, the sources they use, where they get their fabrics and materials. We do a video series that goes behind the scenes of the designers making the collections. And we contract 5 menswear influencers every year who spread the word via their social channels about that. And the result is that it's the highest recalled ad in GQ's history. And we consistently overperform in video as well. The next, Remy Martin, French Cognac, is a fabulous luxury brand who came to us also to achieve a level of elevated cool. And in this case, it was cool across a broad spectrum of categories. We align them with 3 social influencers. We have a broad network of influencers called GQ Insiders. And we're recruiting. If anybody here has a social following, please talk to me after. And so we tapped into 3 GQ Insiders who had strong social followings, primarily on Instagram. We took them out of the realm of Instagram and into a video space and profiled them via an episodic series that lived on GQ.com. Each influencer had 3 episodes in which their story was told, and we'd like to share one of the clips from Angel Ramos. Oops, come back.
The bespoke experience goes far beyond buying a suit. You find a texture, you pick the fabric, you draw the inspiration.
Great. So that was just an example of one of the previews of the episodes. I encourage you to watch all of them. They're really interesting. But Remy Martin was organically integrated. It was felt very natural. It wasn't forced. There was pre-roll. And this has been a huge success for us. Launched in January, received 35 million impressions, and 3.5 times their total projected video views. And we are continuing this great video series in partnership with Nordstrom this fall. Go to the next slide. And the last one is Tiffany Company. We all know Tiffany Company and the little blue box, but we probably know it for the little blue box and for jewelry for women. So Tiffany Company came to us to raise awareness for a new watch, their CT60, and really increase interest from men and have men think of Tiffany as company for them. So for this particular execution, we again tapped into GQ Insider, social influencers with strong followings on Instagram, and profiled them through the lens of looking and feeling good from sunrise to sunset. Confidence. We had 2 gentlemen based in New York City. One was the uptown guy, and one was the downtown guy. And they were profiled via an interactive parallax execution on GQ.com. Overwhelming results. 90% who saw the ad said they're more likely to consider shopping at Tiffany Company as a result. And 93% have a more favorable opinion and more likely to consider a brand for men. So that's all I have. Hopefully I've captured your attention and given you a little insight into how to speak to men, what's important to them, and I'm happy to take questions.